You have been tricked into believing that energy work is either a scam or something only monks and mystics can master. However, the truth is that you were born with the ability to bend energy with divine ease. You have not lost this ability. It was systematically and silently taken from you, replaced with textbooks, screens, and routines that taught you to ignore the wisdom of your own body. The sensations you brushed off as insignificant were, in fact, everything. The tingling in your palms, the pull between your fingers, the heat that moved without touch. You felt it once, perhaps in childhood, but you were told to stop imagining things. They needed your logical mind, not your intuitive one. Predictable, not powerful. Because here's the part they never wanted you to figure out. Energy is not a mystery, it's a system. A system that can be trained, tuned, and commanded not in decades, but in days. And when you finally learn how it works, the speed at which it activates feels almost illegal. From the moment you were born, they began rewriting your connection to power. Not the kind glorified in movies, the flashy, explosive kind, but the real thing. Inner energetic sovereignty. That subtle, unshakable current that flows through your body beneath the layer of thoughts, shaping every moment of your life, whether you are aware of it or not. You were born with access to it, but no one ever taught you how to use it. Why? Because a population capable of regulating its own energy, amplifying its own frequency, and transmuting internal chaos into power does not need saving. It does not need systems. It does not need them. Instead, they replaced it. They traded awareness of subtle energy for school bells and doctrines. They gave you tests to memorize and called it intelligence. They made you associate stillness with laziness and obedience with virtue. And slowly, over time, they severed the link between your consciousness and your bioenergetic field. Not because energy doesn't exist, but because it works too well. Because it's too real. Because it's too available. You were taught to laugh at your own potential long before you began to explore it. The idea of chi, prana, or life force has been reduced to fantasy, mysticism, or martial arts choreography. If you mention it, you're weird. If you pursue it, you're delusional. This was not accidental. It was a surgical operation. Western science didn't fail to find energy. It chose not to look. It separated the body from the mind from the spirit, and then declared everything outside its microscope a myth. And most people believed it. But energy is not something you believe in. It's something you feel. It's something you direct. It's something you become. The great Hermetic systems knew this. The ancient Egyptian alchemists, the Taoists, the yogis, they all mapped this power centuries ago. They didn't worship it, they used it. And here is what they discovered. Your mind is not just a thinking machine, it's a transmitter, a frequency tuner. Your breath is not just air, it's an interface with the field. Your spine is not just a structure, it's a conduit for a subtle current. Energy is everywhere, but more importantly, it is programmable, and your nervous system is the operating system. But none of this is taught. Instead, you were told that your body is just a meat suit, your thoughts are random noise, and your intuition is unreliable. You were handed a blueprint designed to keep you in your head and out of your body. But energy doesn't live in the mind, it flows beneath it. And to access it, you must remember what you were made to forget. Your body is not a cage, it's a channel. When you begin to learn to speak the language of energy, not metaphorically, but neurologically, the rules of reality begin to shift. You stop reacting, you start creating. You begin to feel before you think. You become aware of the space between events, the part most people miss because they've been trained to ignore it. You notice how environments feel, how emotions leave residues, how people project fields that either uplift or drain. And you learn to hold your own field, not through effort, but through presence. Power returns, not because someone gave it to you, but because you remembered where it was all along. The lie wasn't that energy work doesn't exist. The lie was that you weren't built for it. But the moment you feel it for yourself, that illusion collapses. And once it does, there's no going back. You'll see people differently. You'll feel reality differently. And more than anything, you'll wonder why no one ever told you the truth. Subtle energy is not a fantasy and not a metaphor. It is real, it can be trained, and it is happening inside and around you right now, whether you are aware of it or not. But most people cannot feel it, not because it is weak or hidden, but because their senses have been dulled by overstimulation and disconnection. When people say, "I don't feel anything," they are not wrong. They have simply lost the ability to perceive what was once natural. Imagine a radio constantly blaring static. You wouldn't notice the melody playing quietly underneath. That is what modern life has done to your energy perception. It hasn't disappeared. It's buried. Subtle energy, whether you call it chi, prana, bioelectricity, or etheric force, is the foundational layer of your experience. It's not just a trendy New Age word, it's the field from which all form emerges. In Hermetic terms, it is the animating force that bridges thought and matter. It moves faster than thought and precedes biology. Your nervous system doesn't just react to the world. It emits a constant field, shaped by your emotional state, your beliefs, and your physical tension. When someone walks into a room and you instantly feel their vibe, that's not intuition, it's energy literacy in action. But subtle energy is not just a mystical aura or something only empaths can pick up on. It's electromagnetic, it's thermodynamic. It's measurable, not always with standard instruments, but with the body itself. The skin, the fascia, the gut, the palms, they are loaded with sensory nerve endings tuned to subtle feedback. But when you have been trained to live in your head, to intellectualize everything, you lose the ability to sense. Most people only feel what is loud: pain, heat, tension. They have forgotten how to feel what is quiet. But it is in the quiet that power resides. You were taught to ignore the most important sensations. That warm buzz in your chest when you are fully present, the tingling between your palms when you concentrate, the sudden chills when a truth hits your body before your brain can process it. You were taught that these were coincidences, imagination, or nothing at all. But that is the entry point. That is where energy begins to speak. The reason it's hard to feel subtle energy isn't because it's hard, but because it's subtle. It requires you to slow down, not speed up. It doesn't respond to tension or effort. It responds to attention and neutrality. Energy flows where awareness goes, not force. And most people have never been taught to hold awareness without demand. They seek results instead of a relationship. But energy isn't a tool, it's a dialogue. When your nervous system is constantly hijacked by stress, distraction, or overstimulation, it shuts down your energetic sensitivity as a form of protection. It compresses your range. It puts you in survival mode, where only fight, flight, and freeze exist. In this state, you are not open to flow. You are locked in defense. So, if you don't feel energy right now, it doesn't mean it's not there. It means your body is still on guard. It means you haven't been shown how to switch from contraction to openness. And it's not about belief, it's about training. Subtle energy becomes real when you stop trying to force it and start learning to listen to it. That's where everything starts to change. When you realize that sensing is not something you achieve, but something you uncover. The more you tune in, the more you realize it was always there, beneath your movements, beneath your thoughts, beneath the noise, like a signal, just waiting to be noticed. And once you begin to feel it, even faintly, everything changes. You start to move differently, breathe differently, respond differently. You stop treating the body like a machine and start treating it like a vessel. You stop treating awareness like a flashlight and start seeing it as a field. And in that space, subtle energy becomes not just something you feel, but something you direct. This is the first step from passive experience to conscious creation. Most people don't realize that their energetic senses aren't broken, they're dormant. You weren't born numb. You were trained to shut down the very parts of you that could sense beyond the physical world. And not out of malice, but because we live in a world that only rewards what it can measure, monetize, or package into a curriculum. But energy doesn't play by those rules. It doesn't need belief. It doesn't care about approval. It responds to direct experience. And the moment you begin to tune in, even just a little, you notice something strange. It starts to respond to you, waking up. Waking up your energy senses isn't about becoming special or spiritual. It's about returning to your baseline, a natural state that was always meant to be accessible. The body already knows how to do this. It's the mind that gets in the way. Your thoughts want certainty, results, labels. Energy doesn't operate on that frequency. It moves in response to presence, not performance. And the more you try to force it, the more elusive it becomes. But when you relax into sensation without chasing a goal, you begin to feel it. The tingling between your palms, the magnetic push or pull when you bring your hands toward each other, the gentle buzz under your skin. These aren't tricks. They are signs that your awareness is deepening. The hands are often the first place you'll feel it, not because they are magical, but because they are loaded with sensory nerve endings and constantly receive feedback. When you hold them a few inches apart and simply focus on the space between them, your body starts to pick up on subtle changes in temperature, pressure, density, and charge. It might feel like warmth, static, magnetism, or even a liquid-like sensation. The trick isn't to give it a name. The trick is to observe it, stay with it, and let it build. Attention amplifies perception. Stillness magnifies the signal. Breathing plays a key role, not because it's mystical, but because it's the switchboard between your conscious mind and your autonomic system. Shallow breathing keeps you in mental loops. Deep, rhythmic breathing brings the body into a state of coherence. The nervous system slows, energy begins to move, and your senses activate. You're not just breathing air, you're breathing in a pattern, a flow, and a charge. And when your breath becomes intentional, your energy follows. Stillness is another key. Not sitting in place out of boredom, but being present without distraction. The less fragmented your awareness, the stronger the signal. When you allow yourself to slow down and truly inhabit your body, not just think about it, you create space for sensation to arise. Energy is not loud by default. It becomes loud when you become quiet. But since modern life teaches you to constantly react, you rarely descend to the depth necessary to perceive it. Waking up your energetic senses means reclaiming your ability to be still, even for a few moments, and noticing what appears. Movement also plays a role. Subtle energy responds to intention, and when paired with movement, it creates a feedback loop. Slow, deliberate hand movements with focused awareness can reveal currents that feel like fluid tension, warmth, or electromagnetic waves. This isn't imagination. It's you finally tuning in to the very real field that has always surrounded you. Visualization helps not because it's magic, but because the brain doesn't fully distinguish between imagined and physical input. When you visualize energy moving through your hands, your nervous system engages with that direction. You aren't pretending, you are training your body to align with your intention. And it's not just about the hands. Over time, you will start to sense energy through your spine, your gut, your feet, your entire field. You'll begin to notice how emotions change the texture of your space, how thoughts ripple through your body, how other people's energy enters or leaves your awareness. You won't need proof. You will have perception. And that's when the shift happens. When you no longer need anyone to tell you what's real, because you can feel it for yourself. This isn't about performing energy tricks or showing off. It's about remembering how to listen. Waking up your energetic senses is about quieting the noise long enough to hear what's been there all along. And once you do, you'll start to trust your body again, not just as a vehicle, but as an instrument, tuned not only to physical sensations but also to frequency, resonance, and flow. This is where the real work begins, not in trying harder, but in perceiving deeper. Because energy doesn't need to be found, it just needs to be felt. Subtle energy is not a random phenomenon you stumble upon by accident. It follows laws, not man-made laws, but universal patterns, hermetic principles that govern how energy moves, how form arises, and how thought becomes reality. These laws were not invented. They were observed by the ancients, encoded in texts, passed down in fragments, and then buried under centuries of dogma and distraction. But once you understand them not just intellectually, but with your whole being, they become not theories, but tools. Tools that, if you use them, give you leverage, the kind that turns thought into vibration, and vibration into force. The first and most fundamental is the law of mentalism. All is mind. Everything begins in consciousness. Every energetic pattern you emit originates in your mental state. If your thoughts are scattered, your energy is scattered. If your thoughts are sharp, still, and precise, your energy becomes focused, like a blade. Mentalism means you don't need to move your body to shift your field. You just need to command it internally, not with hope, not passively, but with clarity and certainty. You become the source code. Then there is the law of vibration. Nothing rests. Everything moves. Everything has a frequency, including you. Your emotions, your breath, your thoughts, your inner dialogue, all are vibrations. When your system is chaotic, you attract chaos. When you tune into coherence, meaning your thoughts, breath, and nervous system are in sync, your field stabilizes. And when your field stabilizes, your influence expands. You are not just vibrating randomly, you are resonating purposefully. This is what ancient practitioners did, not through rituals and robes, but through alignment. And this brings us to the law of polarity. Everything is dual. Opposites are the same in nature, differing only in degree. Heat and cold, light and darkness, stillness and movement. Mastery comes not from resisting polarity, but from understanding it. You don't run from fear, you transmute it into fuel. You don't deny anger, you refine it into focus. The same charge that destroys can be directed to build. This is the essence of energetic control, not suppression but redirection. You don't eliminate the storm, you learn to sail through it. These principles are not just abstract ideas, they are operational. You apply them through attention, intention, breath, posture, and focus. Not by praying to something outside of you, but by commanding what is already inside you. And no, this is not about ego, it's about responsibility. Because once you realize that your state influences your surroundings, your relationships, your outcomes, everything, you can no longer blame randomness. You become the transmitter, not just the receiver. You learn to tune the field instead of reacting to it. This is the shift from an unconscious emitter to a conscious architect. Rituals, ceremonies, and mantras are just methods of organizing intention, but they are not required. What is required is inner command. Can you hold a single thought in stillness without doubting it? Can you enter a state of mental silence and direct your field without needing external confirmation? That is the work. That is where hermetic law meets practice. And, most importantly, that is where energy stops being a concept and becomes an extension of your will. When you combine these laws with the energy you are beginning to sense, something clicks. You realize that energy moves not only under the influence of emotions, it moves through structure, a structure that you create. Not rigid routines, but inner architecture, patterns of breathing, visualization, physical alignment, stillness, and conviction. You don't just send energy out, you hold it, you channel it, you shape it with precision. You use polarity to shift internal states, vibration to stabilize them, and mentalism to create the blueprint. This is not magic, it's mechanics. The magic was in making you believe it was anything else. This is the threshold that most never cross. They get a taste of energy, a flicker, a feeling and stop. But those who learn to direct it, to build with it, to project it, to charge space with it, become something entirely different. Not special, not chosen, just awake. Because the real power isn't in seeing energy, but in shaping it. And once you understand the laws that govern the field, you stop waiting for life to happen. You start composing it. The nervous system is the forgotten bridge between your mind and your energy. Most people think energy work is purely about vibes, imagination, or some mystical force floating outside the body. But the truth is far more grounded and far more powerful. The way energy flows through you, how it's held, released, and directed, all of this is governed by the state of your nervous system. If your body is locked in stress, your field is chaotic. If your system is coherent, your field is precise. You cannot command energy with a chaotic signal. You must learn to regulate the instrument before you can command the force. Your nervous system has two primary modes, sympathetic and parasympathetic. fight or flight, or rest and digest. You already know that. But here's what you likely weren't taught. Your energetic field changes drastically depending on which state you're in. In a sympathetic state, energy contracts. Your field becomes dense, reactive, defensive. You burn power just trying to stay alert. But in parasympathetic states, deep calm, conscious breathing, presence, your field expands. You become receptive, attuned, magnetic. This is not just a mental difference. It's electric, energetic. Your entire frequency shifts with your level of nervous system regulation. Think about the last time you walked into a room and someone's energy was so calm it felt like gravity. You couldn't explain it, but you felt it. That is nervous system mastery. Not dominance, not charisma coherence. They weren't leaking energy. They were generating it, containing it, and projecting it. Not through force, but through regulation. And therein lies the secret. You don't increase your energy by trying harder. You increase it by refining your signal. The vagus nerve is central to this. It's not just a biological structure. It's the tuning fork for your entire system. When consciously activated through slow breathing, vocal tone, or gentle stimulation, it shifts your body into a state of coherence. This coherence is the foundation of energetic control. From this state, you can begin to direct energy with clarity rather than with emotion. You move from reactivity to resonance, and that's when real control begins. Not the fake kind, where you try to dominate the world, but the real kind, where your internal state becomes your primary influence. Energy follows the path of least resistance. If your body is tense, your breath shallow, and your awareness fragmented, energy scatters. But when the body relaxes, the breath deepens, and the mind becomes still, energy gathers. It concentrates, and, more importantly, it listens. This is what the ancients practiced, without needing modern science to explain it. They simply knew through repetition and refinement that control over breath and stillness leads to control over force. The body becomes the interface, not something to be transcended, but something to be mastered. When you move with intention, when you sit with presence, when you breathe as if you are conducting a current, you are the conductor. You are no longer waiting for the sensation to appear. You are creating the conditions that make it inevitable. And these conditions are not complex. They are simply unfamiliar because no one taught you how to regulate your system for energy flow. You were taught to grind, to push, and to stay busy. But energy doesn't respond to noise. It responds to signal clarity. That's why most people only get flashes of energy perception, a sudden buzz, a magnetic pull, and then nothing. It doesn't mean the energy left. It means your system returned to noise. Flashes become a flow when you learn to hold regulation. This doesn't mean you have to live like a monk. It means you train your system to switch states on command, like a switch, from scattered to focused, from triggered to grounded, from reactive to still. That is energetic sovereignty. That is the gateway to command. Mastery is not a performance, it's a frequency. And it is broadcast through your nervous system every second of the day. People feel it before you speak. Energy practitioners who truly understand this don't walk around flashing light or trying to impress. They walk in silence because silence is full. Their energy speaks before they do, and you can develop this too. Not through belief, but through nervous system training. You are not learning how to get energy. You are learning how to become a better conduit for it. You are training your body to be the instrument clean, clear, and capable. And once you can hold coherence under pressure, under the influence of emotions, under the impact of stimuli, that is when your energy stops reacting to the world and starts shaping it. Everything is frequency. Every thought you have, every emotion you feel, every word you speak carries a frequency signature. Your body, your organs, your heartbeat, even your electromagnetic field, all of it is vibrating at measurable rates. And whether you are conscious of it or not, your frequency is constantly tuning itself to your environment. This means that if you are surrounded by anxiety, chaos, or noise, your system will unconsciously begin to match it. But the reverse is also true. You can change your entire state, internal and external, by deliberately tuning your frequency. And when you master that, change happens not in months, but in minutes. Frequency attunement is not a metaphor, it's physics, it's resonance. When two vibrating systems come into contact, the one with the stronger, more coherent vibration often entrains the other. That's why one calm person can change the tone of a chaotic room, or why certain sounds or music can instantly change your mood. You are not reacting to the content, you are synchronizing with the frequency. Therein lies the power of resonance, and it is the missing link in most people's energy work. They're trying to raise their vibration through effort and force, without understanding how to precisely tune their field. Your body instantly responds to coherent frequency. That's why sound therapy, tuning forks, solfeggio tones, and even your own voice can act as tuning devices for your energetic field. It's not about mysticism, it's about signal purity. Coherent frequencies calm the nervous system, balance the hemispheres of the brain, and open the energy channels in the body. But this is not just about passively listening to pleasant sounds. It's about actively using frequency with your breath, your movement, and your intention to anchor new states. When you chant, hum, or tone with awareness, your own voice becomes a tuning fork. Your vibration ceases to be just a passive field. It becomes a conscious broadcast. And the body responds. You will feel the resonance in your chest, in your skull, in your gut. You will feel the spine begin to open, the field begin to expand, and the noise in your mind dissolve. Frequency clears static. This static is the mental chatter, the emotional loops, the energetic debris that clouds your perception. Once it is cleared, energy begins to move again. Not because you are doing more, but because you are finally in harmony. Even the environment has its frequencies. Forests, oceans, mountains, they radiate at frequencies that return your system to a state of coherence without any effort. That's why you feel more like yourself in nature. It's not nostalgia, it's recalibration. Your body remembers what resonance feels like and wants to return to it. That's why conscious exposure to certain frequencies, whether it be sound, a place, or even people, is not a luxury, it's maintenance. You are a field, and that field requires tuning. But here is the deeper layer that most never realize. Frequency affects not only your mood, it affects your thoughts. What you are capable of thinking and perceiving is shaped by the frequency at which you are currently resonating. That's why low-frequency states trap you in fear, lack, and judgment. High-frequency states open you up to solutions, intuition, and flow. Your access to genius, clarity, and vision depends not on how smart you are, but on how well you are tuned. The frequency makes the thought possible. The thought sets the direction. The energy follows. That's why change can feel impossible when you are stuck in the wrong frequency. You can have the right strategy, the right plan, the right tools, but if your frequency is off, nothing flows. Decisions feel heavy, the mind is foggy, actions feel forced. That's not resistance from the world. It's feedback from your field. It's telling you, tune first, then act. And when you do, the effort dissolves. You enter a state of alignment, and alignment makes movement inevitable. You don't need to seek some mythical high vibration. You need to find your natural tone, the one beneath the noise, beneath the conditioning, beneath the imitation. This tone is already encoded in your body. It's how you feel when you are calm but focused, soft but powerful, still but alive. You have felt it before, in moments of presence, in moments of deep knowing. That is the signature of your field when it is clear. Your job is not to create this tone, but to return to it. Frequency attunement is about becoming so aligned with your own natural state that everything untrue falls away, and when it does, energy flows effortlessly. You don't chase power, you emanate it. You don't fight to be heard, your presence speaks first. And that is the secret to instant shifts. They are not accidents, they are the result of resonance. And resonance is a skill you already know how to feel, and now, a skill you are learning to direct. Energy is not just something you feel, it's something you emit, and what you emit shapes the world's response to you. This is not some vague spiritual idea or motivational slogan. It's a mechanism, and it's running constantly. Every room you walk into, every conversation you have, every opportunity that crosses your path is either magnetized or repelled by the frequency you are holding. You are not a bystander in your reality. You are broadcasting instructions every moment of your life through your energy. Most people don't realize this. They think their life is shaped by actions, decisions, or luck. But beneath all of that is a field, a subtle but powerful broadcast of thought, emotion, nervous system state, and frequency. You are not reacting to the world as it is. You are reacting to how your field interprets and amplifies it. And the people around you are doing the same. This is why some people seem to move through life with a strange grace. Not because things are easier for them, but because their field is more coherent, more stable, more intentional. When your energy is scattered, reality feels chaotic, conversations feel draining, people misunderstand you, opportunities slip away. But when your energy is clear, focused, and resonant, everything starts to align without the usual resistance. You walk into spaces and feel a shift. Not because you are commanding it with force, but because your presence is calibrated to influence, not to absorb. And once this becomes your default state, the world doesn't just feel different, it is different. Your thoughts set the trajectory, but it is your energy that gives them weight. You can say all the affirmations you want, visualize your goals every morning, and meditate for hours, but if your field is full of tension, fear, or self-doubt, that is what is speaking. Energy always speaks louder than intention, because the field doesn't lie. You can fake words, but you can't fake resonance. And the world, consciously or not, responds to what is actually being broadcast. And this is where things get interesting. Because once you become aware that you are shaping reality not just with actions, but with energy, the game changes. You begin to sense outcomes instead of chasing them. You stop pushing and start aligning. You stop trying to prove and start transmitting. Your work becomes less about controlling people or situations and more about refining your state. The state you hold becomes the world you walk through. The better your field, the clearer the path. This is why inner work is not just about healing or peace. It is strategic. A coherent energy field doesn't just feel good. It moves things. It organizes chaos. It draws people in. It influences without needing to control. This is why true energetic mastery is not loud. It's silent. It is felt. You don't need to announce yourself when your field walks in before you. You don't need to convince when the space rearranges itself around your presence. This is not arrogance. It's alignment. Energy is not neutral. It is directive. It is shaping your relationships, your income, your timing, your intuition. The job you lost, the person who ghosted you, the door that didn't open, these were not failures. They were energetic mismatches. The field always reflects what it receives. This is not punishment, it's data. And when you stop taking everything personally and start reading the field like a map, you realize that reality is feedback. Not random, not cruel responsive. This doesn't mean you control every outcome. It means you influence the unfolding of events. It means you participate in the dance instead of being dragged along by it. And the more attuned your energy becomes, the more fluid the dance. You are not here to haggle with the universe. You are here to harmonize with it. And in this harmony, things that once seemed impossible become natural. Not easy, but aligned. Because alignment is not about effort. It's about clarity. And clarity is magnetic. You have always been shaping reality. The only difference now is that you are becoming conscious of it. You are starting to notice how your state creates your environment, how your inner world sets the tone for the outer one. This awareness alone is transformative. But when you combine this awareness with nervous system mastery, hermetic understanding, and frequency control, you don't just navigate reality, you design it. The most powerful work you will ever do is the work no one sees. Not because it's secret, but because it's subtle. The world doesn't reward inner stillness. It doesn't applaud energetic clarity. It rarely celebrates those who regulate their state, refine their signal, and project integrity without ever raising their voice. But this is where real mastery lives. Not in spectacle, but in precision, in consistency, in invisible discipline. Energetic mastery is not a performance. It's a lifestyle that needs no permission, validation, or audience. And that is why most people never pursue this path. There is no one to applaud you when you sit in silence and refine your breath. No one is watching when you choose coherence over reaction or presence over projection. But that is the test. Can you remain committed to what no one else will notice until they do? Because eventually, they will notice. They won't know what has changed. They will just feel it. They will sense something in your presence they can't explain. A calm, a pull, a groundedness that doesn't waver. They will see how life bends toward you, how chaos seems to move around you instead of through you. How people listen when you speak, not because of the volume, but because of the vibration. And they will ask what your secret is. But by then, you will know that it's not a secret, it's a practice. The discipline of energy is not about rigidity. It's not about controlling every moment or meditating for hours. It's about choosing to maintain your signal, even when the world is pulling you in every direction. It's about keeping your field clean in a world that thrives on noise, fear, and distraction. It's about showing up for your practices, even when you don't feel like it. Not to be good, but to be available for power. You don't need a perfect routine. You need a consistent relationship with your field. A short, daily ritual, even for 10 minutes, that brings you back into your body, back into your breath, back into your coherence. Whether it's breath work, toning, stillness, or simply scanning your field, the point is not the method, the point is the commitment. Energy responds to clarity. Clarity comes from consistency. You can't fake it, you build it. And this discipline extends beyond your personal practice. It shows up in how you move through the day, what you consume, who you let into your space, the kinds of environments you expose yourself to. Every choice is a frequency calibration. Every moment either reinforces your coherence or leaks it. And once you see that clearly, you stop tolerating what throws you off. You stop romanticizing chaos. You start treating your energy as if it matters. Because it does. Most people won't understand this path. That's okay. They are not meant to. You are not here to convince them. You are here to become undeniable. To walk so deeply in your own frequency that the world begins to shift around you, not because you forced it, but because you tuned it. And that kind of power, the kind that requires no explanation, is exactly what the system fears. Because it cannot control what it cannot see. And when you start living with discipline in the unseen, you become ungovernable in the visible. Energetic mastery is not about doing more, it's about being more. Being more present, more coherent, more unshakable. The more you refine your field, the less life feels like resistance, and the more it feels like rhythm. And rhythm is not accidental, it is engineered from the inside out. You were never meant to earn this power, you were meant to remember it. That is the real secret. Not that energy exists, or that it can be shaped, but that it already belongs to you. Everything you have been learning, the laws, the breath, the nervous system, the frequency, none of it gives you anything new. It simply reveals what was always there, just waiting for you to notice. You were taught to look outside yourself, for strength, for answers, for worth. But the body knows. The field knows. Deep down, under the noise and the conditioning, you have always known that there is more to this life than just survival. That there is more to you than just thoughts and reactions. That there is a current beneath the chaos. And now you have felt it, even if only for a moment. You cannot feel it. That shift you sensed, the stillness between breaths, the charge in your hands, the pull in your spine, that was not imagination, that was contact. The reason you were never told the truth is because the system does not benefit from empowered individuals. It thrives on doubt, distraction, and dependence. It wants you overwhelmed and uncertain, chasing power in products and promises. But once you begin to generate that power from within, once you feel the field respond to your presence, the script unravels. The authority they claimed over your energy dissolves. Because no one owns what lives inside you. You don't need robes, rituals, or a lineage. You don't need to wait for permission or to be chosen. This is not about being special, it's about being sovereign. And sovereignty is not something granted, it's something reclaimed. Through practice, through awareness, through the discipline of showing up even when there is no instant feedback. This is how real transformation happens. Quietly, repeatedly, authentically. The more you align your thoughts, breath, and body, the more the field begins to move through you, as it always wanted to. You become a channel, not a container. You stop holding tension and start transmitting intention. You begin to notice how space feels when you enter it, how people shift without knowing why, how timing seems to adjust itself around your clarity. That's not ego, it's resonance. It's what happens when you live in your natural tone. You don't need to convince anyone. Just walk differently, speak less, transmit more. Let your field introduce you. Let your presence do the work. That is how energy mastery works. Not through noise, but through coherence. Through the quiet confidence of someone who doesn't just believe, but knows. You have already crossed the threshold. This is not the beginning of your journey. It's the return. The memory of what you always carried. You are not becoming something new. You are peeling away everything that told you that you weren't already it. That is what they never wanted you to figure out. Not because it's dangerous, but because it's unstoppable. And now you know. Now you have seen. Now you have felt. The only question is, what will you do with it?